Hello everybody, my name is Ungar, and welcome back to Empires of the Undergrowth. With Tier 5 rapidly approaching, we need to up our game, and recently I figured out a very good strategy for beating 4.1 on Impossible, and I know a lot of people struggle with that, even though if you use this strat, it is honestly very easy. Of course, you're going to need some standard game knowledge like attack switching, and just know how to play because there is some RNG involved. But if you can beat it on hard and extreme, then this guide should allow you to beat it on impossible. So we're going to choose vigorous because they are better, poor pervasive, in need of a slight buff. And usually you do this for the other high difficulties, but immediately turn off food gathering and attack and get your 7 workers to assault the big-headed ant aphids immediately. Those are very important to the run, as big heads are kind of scary, and weakening them in the early game while giving yourself a reliable food source is very, very nice. Alright, there's a spider here. Hopefully the spider leaves, but there really isn't many threats early game. Alright, all of our workers are out, and if this spider sits here, you can sort of just hide over here for a bit until the spider leaves. Sometimes if the spider comes after you, that will happen and you just kind of want to restart. Once you've successfully gotten past the RNG and snagged the 7 big-headed ant aphids closest to the Bullfrog, then you just want to send your workers back and start collecting. The best place to begin putting your soldiers is up here, and you kind of just want to fill this out and start upgrading. This patch over here is also very available, and while you're working on this, you want to come down and snag the little black ant aphids when all the critters are out of the way. Sometimes the little black ants will be especially annoying and literally attack you on day 1. They really aren't a threat at all, and you can kind of just ignore them like completely. You also do sort of want to build a few extra workers just so that you can have people in the nest and up on the aphids. So you can have your soldiers clear through this, and usually you'd want them to help the workers gather that. But if you have little black ants out here on day 1, which is honestly pretty rare in my opinion, they don't attack you all that often, but sometimes they will, and you want to make sure they do not take any of your aphids. Now that we have a few extra workers, we can also send our main 7 up to help with collecting all of these aphids, because at this point we have a good amount of them, but we also do want a few workers just to make sure that these soldier groups are constantly being upgraded. You can also kind of go around and grab any of these little things if you get the chance, and just kind of look around for free food, see what you can manage, but priority is the aphids. Make sure your aphids are protected and make sure you're farming them as much as possible. They are crucial to the early game. Like I said, getting the little black ant aphids is also very crucial. We are gonna have to take out these bugs here and just kind of rush the aphids, snag them up, and kind of just run away at this point. Hopefully this guy can distract this bug. Yep, and there you go. Once you have them, just retreat and defend the aphids, and then pressure little black ants and grab as much food as you can. That is the strat for day 1. Get both of these aphids, harvest as much food underground as you can, and snag any RNG little bits that fall or any creatures that are exposed, defending from any little black ant invasions if you get unlucky like I did with this run. But I mean, honestly, on day 1 they aren't a threat anyway, so it's not like they can really do anything. And once you have this all finished, then work on a second row, and once you have that, you want to start upgrading, because level 3s are very, very helpful. Once you have about 10-ish soldiers going on finishing off this chamber, you are then relatively capable to start dealing with some of the bugs near the little black ants, and this is a lot of good food down here that if you can, you definitely want to grab. With an army of this size, you can even take on a fully health beetle, and most of my ants didn't even have the vigorous buff in that case, and you can kind of just go around and start collecting up food, growing your army, and of course being careful of little black ants like I was not right there. And now we have to defend from them. The priority is getting them away from the aphids. You cannot let these guys grab a single one of those, or you will not have that much of a good time. So we're going to kind of go up in here and make sure that these guys are dealt with. And by day 2, they will be dead, so they aren't really that much to worry about. Keep collecting food and, you know, deal with these guys when they arrive. As you can see, we're just collecting up a whole bunch of food. Be careful to stay away from the bugs as much as possible and just kind of keep on eating. Little black ants almost got us there. As you can see, we're getting pretty low on food, but we should be fine. All the critters are beginning to go away as night starts to fall. You're pretty much set. Once night falls, the enemy ants will leave you alone. And what you want to do is, while night is beginning to fall, move over this way, as there's a bunch of food over there that you can clear before the frog wave arrives. And the bombardier beetles are quite easy to deal with. The main targets on this night will be getting this entire plant and beginning to chew your way through the pine cone. And just keep on eating all these critters as much as you can, and, you know, kind of just ignore little black ants, because poor little black ants never really were a threat. Night has fallen at this point, and now you can begin and start by collecting up this. If you want to avoid the, what are these? Venus flytraps, my bad. You can actually turn off aphid collecting, and, well, that guy's dumb. But the rest of your ants will not go up there if you have aphid collecting off for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but you can see here if we had an ant. Well, we don't, and we're not going to go up there again. But it doesn't really matter. There aren't many plants up there, and food is so abundant in this level that you can kind of just ignore losses. That's why we go for vigorous here, as there's just so much food that we don't care all that much about spending it. Before the toad wave thing even pops up, you should have your first level 3, and by this point we are very, very rich and collecting up a whole lot of food. At this point, you also will definitely want to build out some more chambers here, kind of just open this up, and we'll send the aphid guys back just to help with digging right now, and just have these guys continue on feasting. The second the toads arrive, you want to fall back, and that's because we are definitely going to need to start clearing some of the underground before the toads get here, as they will definitely be aided by some of the enemies, which will make it a little bit tougher for us to survive here. Let's hope these guys can manage to get home. One of them doesn't. Can we get an F in the comments for that poor soldier? But anyway, send these guys back out, make sure they're constantly feasting on that. Clear this first, and then you want to go down here in a little bit. But it's really this area is your first priority, as this is where the first toad will dig in from. And there's a whole bunch of little critters down here that will cause you some trouble. Prioritize level 3s as well. They are a lot better than getting level 2s, just because more ants, and fire ants are very good in large numbers. You also want to clear this chamber up here, and once this is cleared, by that time this frog will definitely be in your nest. So you want to get your ants prepared, and fighting them in the brood chamber is actually the best, just so that respawning ants can surround and swarm them. And yeah, that is what you want to do. Get these guys back up here. Perfect timing, the toad is in, and you also do want to start building some more workers, and, you know, just get your army ready. This toad should start, yep, he digs a few tiles over there, and then he just kind of charges our queen. So you want to surround him, just because that AoE attack is quite deadly. Get all around that toad. Hopefully he doesn't do too much. He might not even get that attack off. Sadly, he does. And then you want to start moving in this way. You want to wait for this toad to get pretty much as far up here as possible. Now, he won't actually tunnel into your nest, but we're literally just killing him for the food. As, you know, toads are quite big and chunky and covered in all sorts of delicious food. What? You guys can go back. You guys, up here. Aphid collecting group up here. Go. You up here, organizing the groups as much as you can. And by the time this guy starts moving back, then you want to dig in here so you can kill this and then kill the toad. And make sure you're not doing that at the same time. Alright, these groups are good. Alright, good. We have a few nest guys now, a few more. And yeah, see, this toad will now start getting in here a little later. Turn off food gathering and just kind of wait for him to get a little closer. Also turn off attack and just kind of surround and swarm. Pop this guy. And that should be night 1 down. Next day, little black ants are your worry. You want to make sure the little black ants are dead, and then probably start on the big heads if you get time. Also, clear this. So, in order, the steps are go for the little black ants, then go for this, and if you have time, the big heads. Also, expand your fire ant group to get a 19. And then once you get the 19, we'll talk about that in a second. But onto the little black ants we march. The first thing you want to do when attacking the little black ants is... Actually, this is perfect. They're going to go down there, which should allow us to get in and pretty much like assassinate their queen. Is a good tactic if you don't really want to fight them. As they are very, very weak. They're not very strong individually, and just have a few ants deter this group and kind of just charge Her Majesty over here. Turn on attack once you get a good number in the nest, and you can kind of just cause chaos within their ranks and get in here and like literally immediately smush the queen. Not much of a threat at all. Some might say that you want to let them grow a little bit. That is not recommended, as then they're going to just annoy your aphids and cause you to lose a lot of time. There's already so much food on this map that you do not need anymore. We're never even going to touch this food down here because we simply don't need it. That should be the little black ants dead, and now you literally just want to go around and eat everything. Just go ham on the little black ant nest, devouring as much of them as you possibly can. Get their aphids, of course, and then once all of their stuff has been plundered, then we can go for the pine cone and eventually on to the big heads. That is, of course, if this doesn't happen. Sometimes the big heads will kind of just come and attack you, and if that's the case, well, too bad for them. We'll go and assassinate them right here and now. Get your army ready and prepare to march. You can pretty much just charge them. They aren't very good at defending until you get into their nest, and that's really where their big-headed super soldiers reside. These guys, the majors and the workers, are not really much of a threat to you in the slightest. Camping outside their nest could be nice. We want to make sure our groups are all the way up here. Keep on slicing and dicing through them with the vigorous buff, and kill the queen. In this run, they did only have enough for a singular super soldier, which will go down quite quickly. They're already pretty much starving. Once this guy dies, he will not be back, and he tips over, which means he doesn't even hit us. And there we go. That is the big-headed ant nest dealt with. And there you have it. The queen should be dead, and now you just want to start pillaging. Eat as much as you can. We will probably come back to them in a little bit, but there are more creatures on the way to them, so it's more efficient to go and snag some stuff from the little black ants. What you do want to do is make sure that you have a group come and grab these aphids, as they are really good and should be always your highest priority. Snag those aphids, and by this point this group should be pretty much maxed out. Don't build speed tiles, instead start working on a second group, as multitasking is going to be very important. As you can see, there's just so much food everywhere on the map, and we just don't have enough units to eat it all. And actually, we don't really have enough to go grab these aphids. Not to worry, we'll get them when we come back to the big head nest. Prioritize soldier tiles as they give more food, and then of course workers as well, and we're going to ignore the food stores. They are, not important in the slightest. Keep building more units. You can have group 2 come and snag these aphids, and then they'll join group 1 in a second. Come on. They sometimes get a little finicky with the food gathering. Just give them a sec, and yeah, get to pillaging. Once the little black ant nest has been pillaged, you can go and snag these aphids on the way out, and then move back to the big heads. By this point, you should have, obviously your first group should definitely be maxed by this point, and your second group, you should pretty much have your first level 3 on the way. These spiders are very, very, very powerful. Leave them alone if you can, as they're just going to slow you down. Collect food, collect aphids, and grow is all what you want to do. Ignore the bullfrog and ignore as many threats as possible. You just need to grow and grow quickly. Little black ants should definitely be totally destroyed by the end of this day. Everything in their nest should be cleared, and you should begin moving back to the big heads. And actually, we never got this pine cone, so why don't we go do that? And yeah, our army by this point is definitely strong enough to handle all the critters along the way. At this point, night should be falling, and you should again go for these aphids, my bad, I meant those caterpillars over there. Go snag them again if they're ready. Let's try and show off the Venus flytrap thing a little better. You can see here, they just kind of ignore the Venus flytraps. If you have aphid collecting off, they just totally ignore them. But like I said, they really aren't much of a threat. I don't care about the Venus flytraps, so turn aphid collecting on so that we can collect aphids. And at this point, dig a lot of tiles out. Dig, 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 dig. Send these guys back in to come and help send the aphid workers back. Just kind of open this place up a lot. Make sure food collection is going very well, and continue on to the big heads. At this point, bombardiers are zero threat to you, so you should just be able to ignore them. Continue harvesting from the big heads. We don't really care about these aphids. I mean, by the start of day 3, you should probably begin your march on the bullfrog. Of course, we do want to clear out all the enemies in here, just so that the final amphibian wave isn't much of a threat to us. We still need these workers down here. But yeah, you can kind of just start eating literally everything on the map. None of the critters really pose a threat. And even the spider, it doesn't dare to attack us, but if it did, it would fall. Occasionally, these frogs are going to dig in, and they really aren't much of a threat. You can kind of send your soldiers back and forth. You do want to clear this out this night as well. Just make these frogs a little easier to deal with, especially this one, who will be aided by these guys if you don't clear them out. And we're going to do that just in time. Get a squad to clear them. Alright, fall back and then surround and swarm. And just buy more and more and more. Numbers is everything in this mission. You need to surround and swarm absolutely everything. There's a lot of AoE, there's a lot of one-shot attacks. You need at least 100 ants. By the time you get 100, you should be able to march on the bullfrog with relative ease. Like with the little black ants, we are going to ignore food stores as they are such a minuscule amount. And then we can just kind of, once you have everything cleared in here, we can go grab these aphids, go grab these. And since we are doing pretty well on time, we are going to do that. But you should have Bullfrog dead and have beaten the mission before the next night. So yes, as you can see, we've pretty much gotten majority of the aphids. We're moving on this final chamber over here. This annoying little spider got those two dead, but we can just go and collect those. I mean, at this point, these guys aren't a threat anyway. These guys, however, are a bit of an annoyance, as we need a small group to come and deal with them. And my, are we getting just bad luck with these spiders coming after us. This group should clear this guy if he's not already dead. Rip to the wasp manted fly. I don't really like these guys, but, they're an interesting threat. Go up here, collect this, and then come down and clear everything with enemies. So that's this chamber. this chamber, and, you know, everything up on top. So you can pretty much just have a straight line in through here like this. This is pretty much what you want to do. Just kind of blah, 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 go crazy with it. It really does not matter at all. You should have a ginormous army at this point with near infinite amounts of food at your disposal. If you do want to pick up all 50 aphids, and workers are definitely going to be helpful. At this point, you should have over 100 fire ants, and once that's the case, a lot of workers, just about 50. You want maybe 25 on the aphids, and then another 25 in the nest. You know, a lot of workers is helpful. Sometimes that will cause you to lose a run. You have an infinite epic army, but you just don't have any workers to hatch the units, which can be a problem. If you want to, you can kind of just go up here and bottleneck fight these guys. Sure, why not? Let's do it. They aren't a threat to us anyway, and we have infinite food. Infinite food. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. 25 for our aphid group, and probably a little more for the nest group. Maybe like 30, 40 of them. As we clear through and get this, we'll also get a little more food that we don't really need. You can also build more food stores, as you will get a lot from the Bullfrog and from the amphibians, so we can just open this out to prepare. And yeah, I'll see you when we're ready to march on the Bullfrog. Okay, so at this point we have a ginormous army, 106 fire ants. I did end up going for a total of 40 units in the nest group, 25 on the surface. We have over 100 split into 2 groups, totally maxed as much as possible. Grab all of this food, make sure you have at least probably 1,000 is good. I don't know, you really don't need much. Both colonies should be dead so that they don't ignore you while you're fighting, or don't annoy you while you're fighting the Bullfrog. And this should be your power level by the beginning of night 3. As we can see, it's getting dark. The faster you beat this, the easier the final wave is. So speed is really nice if you don't want to deal with like 10 million amphibians in your nest. You can see we have a lot of food. This is why 2 groups is helpful. It gets the Bullfrog a little confused and makes his tongue attack a little less powerful, as now you have a totally separate group that doesn't get affected on these sides. In one of my runs, he actually got stuck. I don't know, you can sort of glitch him in occasions, but, you know, with all this food, you should be able to just start mushing through the Bullfrog and just confusing him, surrounding him on all sides. And this once great beast shall fall. And I'll see you when it does. Okay, as we can see here, the Bullfrog's health is decimated, and the Bullfrog has fallen. Rest in peace to the Bullfrog, but now all these other critters will begin to run away. Feast on the body and prepare. This is something I haven't tried before, but you win if there's not an enemy in your nest within the 2 minutes after this begins. So I might actually just try and, you know, camp these spawners, because the enemies spawn on the surface and then enter through these 2. So we might be able to speedrun this a little faster. I don't know. This is a new tactic. Of course, if you want to play it safe, you can kind of just stay in your nest. It might take a minute or 2 longer. Doesn't really matter, but, you know, why not? Alright, the amphibians are beginning to spawn. You should have like infinite food at this point, so turn off food gathering on your soldiers, just so you can have the biggest army possible to fight on 2 fronts here. We can send these guys, go kill that thing. And then these... Oh, okay, you're gonna fight a velvet ant. That's nice. Sure, do that. We'll fight you. And just kind of march back and forth, make sure that these guys end up getting popped as much as possible, and the final wave should be over. I think I'm just going to run through the whole thing here with you. It does get a little more intense as more critters start spawning here. No, maybe not. We just beat it so fast that there's like nothing attacking us. Alright, yeah, I guess I'll see you at the victory line. And there you have it. Cold Blood Impossible. Pretty simple, easy guide. as long as you know how the game works. Not a single amphibian entered our nest in that final wave, and, you know, jelly is always splendid. So, I hope this helped you guys out a ton. If you did enjoy, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I think that is it. So, I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye!